So today I'm interviewing Patrick Bet-David from Valuetainment. This is the number one entrepreneurship YouTube channel. He is what I like to call a mentor's mentors. And Pat, thank you so much for doing this.
Brother, thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
So I wanted to ask you, Patrick, how did you get here? How did Patrick Bet-David become Valuetainment, or Patrick Bet-David of Valuetainment?
You know, I'm born and raised in Iran. When we came to the States, I escaped, went to Germany, lived at a refugee camp for a couple of years, and then came to America. I mean, this was a dream for us to come to America. Went to school, didn't do too well in high school, got out, went straight into the U.S. Army. I did that for a few years. I got out of the military. I wanted to be a bodybuilder. And then I met a girl named Janvier who was working on Morgan Stanley Dean Witter at the time, and she would always pick me up in a different car. We were dating for about 6 months. And, you know, she said, what do you want to do with your career? I said, I don't really know right now. I want to be a bodybuilder, maybe one day be an actor, Hollywood. I don't know. You know, that's the direction I want to go into. And I asked her what she did with securities and stocks and what that meant. And eventually, I started working on Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. I got into the financial industry the day before 9/11. Then I went to Transamerica for 7.5 years. And in October of 2009, started PHP agency with 66 insurance agents out of Northridge, California. Now we have roughly 8,200 insurance agents in 49 states. And Oscar De La Hoya is one of my business partners, Gabriel Brenner, and Atalaya Fund from New York, which is a $2 billion fund. And we've grown. Now, so throughout this journey, I started kind of seeing what's going on with social media. I realized if you don't do something to build your brand, everybody else is going to build your brand for you. Very simple.
Wow.
If you don't do something to build your brand, everybody else is going to say who you are. So I took the lead. I said, let me tell you guys who I am. This is who Patrick Bet-David is.
So basically, you've had failures. How do you handle your failures? How do you push through?
You know, look, I've had a lot of breakups, okay? Girl breakups. They broke up with me. I broke up with them. I've had girls break my heart and go with another man, and I've broken girls' heart and I've gone with another woman. And so, you know, those situations taught me a lot. And I used to first blame them. I'd say, this girl's a this, she's a pop, she's a blah, all this other stuff. And then you realize, first of all, you were a dick is what you were. You know what I'm saying? I was an absolute asshole to one of them. And then I took that same philosophy in life. I realized, listen, businesses don't work, companies don't work, relationships don't work, some partnerships don't work. I can't just sit there and think about all the things you did wrong. I mean, what does that serve me? Nothing, because I can't change you. The only thing I can look at is look at what I did wrong and change that and make adjustments there. I think sometimes we don't like to do that because no one likes to be wrong. You don't like to be wrong. I don't like to be wrong. The most humble person in the world, Mother Teresa, doesn't like to be wrong. So everybody wants to be able to be right most of the time. But yeah, the thing I learned is I just sat back and I said, Pat, to be honest with you, this didn't work because you didn't do your part. That didn't work because you over-negotiated, and I've done that. I've had some hardcore negotiations where I over-negotiated and I got exactly what I wanted, and then it led to a point of them not making money, and they just said, we're not making money, and they had to cut the relationship. So all of those things taught me a lot of different lessons to realize, what is it you're doing that you would have done differently, and don't do it next time. Change it.
Let me ask you at this point, Pat, what does success mean to you? Because a lot of people define success in different ways, or it may even be multiple things. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to Pat?
Alignment. I think it's really alignment. You know, alignment. And I'll explain to what I mean by alignment. I did a video this week called 10 Reasons Why to Love Capitalism, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're always imposing capitalism. It's a cold-hearted, you know, philosophy. It's hurt a lot of people, et cetera, et cetera. I said, look, here's one of the points I explained the concept of capitalism. I know people who work for nonprofit organizations who are happy, okay? But they think a guy like me is nuts because I'm building a business and I'm going nonstop, PHP, valuetainment, running around, traveling, 80-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks. He's crazy. He can't be happy. There's no way it's even possible for Patrick Bet-David to be happy. Then you look at somebody and say, well, this guy's just an executive. He makes 200 grand a year. How can he be happy? Why does he think so small? But he's happy. He doesn't care to be a CEO. He doesn't care to be a founder. He's totally happy being where he's at. So then you look at another person. I remember Phil Hellmuth. One time, he's the number one poker player in the world. He's won the most bracelets. He said poker is a game that a lot of people in Vegas, professionals, live there, and they make 200 grand a year, and they live very good lives, but they don't want to be the greatest. He says, I can't live like that, but they're happy. So what's the point of the question about what does success mean to you? It's alignment. If what I believe in matches and is aligned with the way I live, I'm happy. That's success to me. But if you are an incredibly super competitive, ambitious person, yet you're very lazy, you are bitter. That's not successful, okay? That's a formula for disaster. You want to find the most miserable person in the world, find the most ambitious, competitive person who is lazy, wants respect, wants people to look at him and say, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. You know everything, but they don't want to work. That's a recipe for disaster. So you got to make sure you're aligned with your views and the way you behave and the way you live your life. Because if that's aligned, all the other stuff is irrelevant.
Do you think anyone can succeed in life?
At what level? So it becomes a level, meaning, for example, are you a sports guy?
Me, I used to do some kickboxing and some working out. I used to do a little bit of bodybuilding and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's 3 levels for all of us, every human being. There's the underachiever, there's the achiever, there's the overachiever. So let's talk about the 3. But these 3 are not the same for everybody. For example, let's look at a person like LeBron James, okay? LeBron James is 6'8", 260 pounds, and he jumps 44 inches, and the guy runs so fast, right? So for him to be an overachiever, he has to do 10 times more than Steph Curry does, because Steph Curry is 6'1", 160, 70 pounds, and he can't jump that high. He's a little guy. So Steph Curry doesn't have to do as much as LeBron James has to do to be an overachiever, if that makes any sense. So what am I saying here? Well, you take somebody who, say for instance, is 5'3", okay? And they didn't do anything crazy in their lives. They didn't do anything insane in their lives. They don't run that fast. They're not that strong. They're just a regular guy that's 5'3". His name is Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy Bogues was 5'3". He played in the NBA for 10 years. Do you realize how insane of a story that is? That's what you call an overachiever at the highest level. I think a lot of times we try to compare ourselves like, can everybody be Donald Trump? Can everybody be LeBron James? Can everybody be Barack Obama? Can everybody be this person, that person, this person? No. I'm trying to challenge people to reach their capacity. And your capacity is not the same as everybody's capacity. There are some people that are 10 times more talented than you. Their capacity is higher than yours. But your goal is to reach the capacity of you, not everybody else's. You reach your capacity, you're an overachiever. Just whatever you do in life, don't be an underachiever.
What would it actually take to succeed? And I am talking about, and Pat, I know I'm talking about traits right now. What do people, okay, they need to go back to re-engineer to be able to succeed. They need to understand that success is from inspiration, but usually desperation, from what you said before. It's a driving force. What do people need? What does it actually take? Because some people want to succeed, but they might not have had a tough life. They might have not had a cruel life. Some people have succeeded with a great life. They just succeeded.
Of course. Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. By the way, please realize this. Not everybody needs to have a tough life to make it. This is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying generally, the people that make it at the highest level, they typically have some stories of very, 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 very hard times that they had a chip that they wanted to prove. Look at Steve Jobs. His biological mother gave him up for adoption. The mother that raised him was Armenian, but that's not his mother. Can you imagine in Steve Jobs' mind? He's like, my own mother didn't want me and gave me up. I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that I should have been kept by my mother. You don't know that. I don't know that. But look at the drive that he has, right? Mark Zuckerberg fell in love with this Asian girl that didn't want to be with him. Every morning he woke up, he would check her profile to see what she does. He didn't care about all the money, everything he did because he wanted that girl. What eventually ends up happening? He eventually gets it. Bill Gates was a nerd. Everybody made fun of him in high school. All those jocks that got the pretty girls would make fun of him. He thought about all those things and relived it. Becomes the richest man in the world for 20 years until Jeff Bezos took it over. What these guys have in common is clarity. They are clear. They are very clear on what they want. And most people don't have that. So you asked the question, and I got a perfect answer for you. You ask, does everybody have to go through hard times to go out there and be successful at the highest level? No. It's two things that cause us to change. One is accidental, which means what? Something bad happens in our lives, we change. A woman leaves us, a spouse dies, mom, dad die, we go to prison, we see something harsh, and it's like, oh my gosh, I have to change. But we didn't do it. It was an accident that caused us to change. And the other one is intentional. Intentional doesn't require an accident to happen. Unfortunately, most of the time, change only happens after something happens to us, rather than we initiating change. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah. What about things you need to learn, like an arsenal, like, for example, sales, rhetoric, psychology, things that you would recommend they learn or get into to be able to succeed?
I think everything in life is solving for X. Everything in life is solving for X. Let me explain to what I mean by solving for X. Okay, so I'm about to share something with you that for the rest of your life you will use. For the rest of your life you will use. And by the way, it's going to make your business meetings better, your conversation with your wife better, your conversation with your friends better, your conversations in sports debates better, in politics better, with your CPA, with your accountant, with your doctor, with your health, with your personal trainer, with everything. Moving forward, whatever you do, whatever problem you're trying to solve, ask, solve for X. X equals what? For example, when I was 16 years old, I was working out. Why? Because I was very skinny. When I was 14, I was 6'1", 130 pounds. Let me say that one more time. 6'1", 130 pounds. And my name wasn't Tyra Banks. Because 6'1" is 130 pounds. You're supposed to be a model and a woman. I'm a man and I'm 130 pounds. So I started working out because I wanted to be a man. And there was a commercial back then. And it was a kid. He would stand like this and he would say, I used to be young, bullied, rejected by girls, and then I drank milk, and look at me now, right? Mm-hmm. I said, man, I want to get big as well. So I started working out. X to me was what? I'm tough. Then when I went to 23 years old and I was working out, X equaled 6 packs, because I'd go to clubs, I'd take my shirt off, I wanted to get laid. So X equaled sex to me, okay? Today, why do I exercise? X equals stamina and energy. It's completely different today than before. I'm not trying to get laid today. I get laid every night I want because I'm married, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to get bullied or all that other stuff because I'm not in high school. I'm a big guy now. I don't have to worry about that, right? X has changed. So what does that mean? You sit in a meeting and you're trying to fire somebody. Solve for X. What are we really solving for? Are we trying to fire this guy because of what? Is he actually not doing his job right? If we fire him today, do we have a replacement? What are his responsibilities? What is he doing? Is that going to be replaced? But why are we firing this guy? Well, what he did, we don't need him anymore at this level. Okay, maybe that's what we were solving for. If that's the case, then let's fire him. But what else is it? Is he emotion? Are we upset? Are we hurt? Is our ego hurt? What is it, right? We have to go through that process. The number one skill set, I believe, you and I, as human beings, and I'm telling you right now, for me with my 3 kids, the number one skill set I'm going to teach these kids is how to process issues. And the way you process issues is always solve for X. And the moment you can answer that question of X, marriage, relationship, friendship, business, board meetings, whatever, not only do you save a lot of time, you save a lot of money, but you're also able to lead yourself and other people to a point that you actually want to go to, the best possible situation, rather than wasting your time for years not knowing what you're solving for. So number one skill set you and I got to learn, Paul, is solving for X.
Do you have any advice for people struggling right now? Like right now they're struggling. What advice could you give them?
In what area? Financially, family? What is it?
You know what? In financially and in business, both. I think that most struggles in life are financial, even though they could be struggling for other things. I think financial is the most common one sought after on YouTube?
Yeah, I would say, again, for me, Software X-Men. You know, what is causing it? I had a guy that came here and he sat down and he said, 3 years ago, I was doing $200,000 a year. He owns a transportation company. He said, I started watching valuetainment videos. And one of the videos you talked about how to scale. And he said, I never looked at the math part of my business and what helped me grow the business. I was spending more time thinking about administrative stuff rather than my sales. So he said, I went from $200,000 a year to doing $15 million per year. 15 million is a solid number to go from 200,000 to 15 million. And the guy's 35-year-old Syrian guy of Chicago. I've never met him before. He's watched every single valuetainment episode out there. If you are struggling business-wise, pay attention to the math. Every business has a formula. Every business has a formula. The first question I ask people when they tell me what they do is this: who's your customer? What do you mean? Give me your ideal customer. I don't know what you're asking. Who's your ideal customer? What do they look like? I think my ideal customer, you can't say I think. You have to know. I was with Chip Wilson this past Saturday. Chip Wilson is the founder of Lululemon. He is worth $3.9 billion. If you search him up, Chip Wilson, 3.9. He's Canadian, by the way. So I asked him, who's your ideal customer? You ready for his answer? Here's his answer. My ideal customer is born on September 28th.
What?
It's a woman. September 28th, a 32-year-old woman who owns a cat, who does yoga, makes good money, is thinking about getting married, but she doesn't need a man. It's only if she chooses to. That's my ideal customer. There's a reason why he's worth $3.9 billion. One of the questions I asked him was the following. I said in 1998, when you first got started, 99% of his customers were women. Only 1% were men. Today, Lululemon is 30% men customers. That's a big number to go from 1% to 30% in only 20 years. I said, what did you do? He said, well, I sat down and I realized what men wanted. He said, for women, the reason why Lululemon did very good is because he said, I would go sit by coffee shops, by yoga stores, yoga places. And I would listen to all the women, what they would say after the yoga class. And I would hear them, they would say, I'm embarrassed to wear my yoga pants. Why? You know, because when I wear my yoga pants, the thing shows, what do you call it?
Camel toe.
Camel toe shows. Yeah, camel toe. Camel toe shows. And I feel very uncomfortable. And he sat there and says, oh my gosh, that's why they don't wear their yoga pants to work in other places. If I can fix the camel toe issue, they'll wear it. So he went and brought his engineers and he said, we're fixing this camel toe issue. What do we need to do? So they started cutting it all these different ways. Finally, they would wear it. Camel toe is absolutely gone. Girls would take it after class, wouldn't show up. Women started saying, the reason why we're Lululemon is because camel toe is gone. I can wear it in the streets. I'm no longer embarrassed because no one can see it. See, I know I'm not trying to be funny or...
No, it's a very good point. It's an amazing point.
This is the details. A lot of times business owners are just thinking you're going to start a business, you're going to make millions. You got to pay attention to the details.
So mentors are very important in your life. I guess listening and getting the message they give is even more important, yeah?
Yeah, you got to find the right mentor first. Now, I like the T theory. The T theory is the way to go when you're looking at mentors, and it's 3 different things. There are mentors out there that have technical knowledge. That's the T. They have technical knowledge. They're well-read. Right? They went to school. They're doctors, PhD, master. They've read a lot of business books. Then number 2 is people who have experience that have watched somebody else. For instance, I work closely with Steve Jobs. I work closely with Zuckerberg. I work directly with the billionaire. I work directly with this guy, and I can tell you how he was. So it's not the individual, but they witnessed somebody else do it. And then the last one, the letter A, is application. You're actually dealing with Steve Jobs, who has the theory, the experience, and the application. So he's not telling you anything, just a book. He's telling you from what he's done, what worked and what didn't work. If you find the trifecta type of mentor, it's perfection.